You ask way too intelligent questions that I'm going to give you dumb answers for, and then I'm going to regret the whole thing. And I'm not going to be able to share this interview with my friends because I don't want to look stupid afterwards.
Three, two, one. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy, and welcome to another episode of Growing on You Live. Today, I have got Mr. Flavio De Feo. He is the director and creator of the all-new Your Friend Andrew W.K. So very, very cool. I'm super psyched to have him on here. Let's see here. I'm here, Flavio. Flavio, how's it going, man?
Hey, it's going great. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Thank you very much for being on.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you've never seen the show before, basically what we have going is I have a couple of icebreaker questions I start with. Then the majority of the body of the interview is just about you and your craft. And then I have one special finale written just for you, my man.
Sounds great. Okay.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, first of all, like I said, thank you very much and welcome. Everything good there? You're staying healthy and safe?
Yeah. I am currently living in Frankfurt, Germany.
Right.
Everything, I guess, it's pretty safe. COVID-19 didn't affect us that much.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very good. All right. We're over here getting our asses whooped.
You need to wear your masks.
I do. You're telling me. I know my family and I keep right on top of it, but boy, oh boy, it's just some stubborn people that are just keeping this going. So, but yeah. Anyway, everybody's talking about that, and let's have a little bit of fun here. So,
yeah.
If I were traveling through Frankfurt, okay, and I came by and I said, Flavio, point me in the direction of a local food staple or a restaurant, something that I have to have on here that's just specific to this place. Well, where would you direct me?
Man, you're asking the wrong guy.
Okay.
I'm originally from Rome, Italy.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm very proud of being Italian and the Italian food history.
Sure.
I've been living here in Frankfurt for 2 years. I'm still looking for the place.
Okay, beautiful. I mean, especially being from Rome too. I mean, I can imagine. Tell me about some spots from there then.
From Rome?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, in Rome, I will say, first of all, if you ever find yourself in Rome, just avoid eating at any touristic place and you should be fine. Anywhere you go, you can easily find great food, generally speaking, for pretty cheap, as long as you steer away from eating in front of the Colosseum or in front of the Pantheon, all those touristic traps. Like any big major city, it's always the same. Okay. But yeah, I mean, if you like, I'm sure you do, but if you like pizza, Rome is full of pizzeria. Every 3 buildings in Rome, there is a pizzeria.
Okay. All right. So it's just surrounded by it. Beautiful. That sounds like an amazing place to be.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, here in Frankfurt, there are some nice places to eat. I try to avoid Italian restaurants here because they're usually not run by authentic Italians.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But I mean, there is a nice place they make. I think it's Vietnamese or Korean, one of the two. Ah, it's Korean. They make some fried chicken that is very good. They serve it on a waffle with some
Oh.
Korean sweet sauce, which is incredibly delicious.
Oh wow. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So if you
Uh,
ever come here in Frankfurt, I'll take you there. That's a good place to go.
Okay. Okay. All right. Awesome. Now, if I could ask, if you were to make, and now this is kind of worded oddly, but it was the best way I could word it as far as questioning it. If you were to make a documentary on any dead celebrity while they were alive, who would it be?
Wow, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Any dead celebrity
Yeah.
that were alive? Well, I need to. I mean, I don't want to give you a dumb answer and then think about it in an hour and think, I should have said this guy instead of this.
Right, right.
But
Some
there
of the
are,
fun sometimes is just kind of the on the spot where you kind of pick it out, and every once in a while something springs to you, and you're like, oh yeah, that sounds
yeah.
good.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, how far can I go in
I
history?
just whatever you're thinking right offhand.
I mean, there are some interesting characters. There is one guy, I don't like him. I think he was a despicable human being, but also a documentary is an interesting opportunity to get to know somebody from closer.
Sure.
Maybe somebody like Aleister Crowley, that would be interesting for sure.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
For sure.
if you have the chance to meet a guy, that's an interesting guy for sure.
Right. Right.
I don't know how long I could stand his company, but
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, I can only imagine just as far as like that whole process. Like you say, you could have somebody, and you could spend all that time, and it could end up being something where you don't absolutely despise them as much, and maybe have a little bit of an understanding, or but still disagree.
yeah, I mean, it would be very selfish from me. I mean, I wouldn't make a documentary to glorify him. I think
Right.
it's already, in my opinion, it's glorified way too much already.
Yeah.
I don't like the guy, but
Yeah.
still, if I would have to pick, that's for sure in the list, somebody that I would like to get to know from near.
Sure.
Actually, see for myself what the big deal was all about,
Right.
more than anything.
Okay. All right. Where in your filmmaking, where did your ventures start as far as your directing your process?
Yeah. From you mean my process when I'm making a film?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this the question?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the project, really.
Okay.
I make not movies but videos, let's call them like this, for a non-profit company. And when I make videos for this company, we always start either from a script or from a storyboard, but we always start from a goal. We're going to make a video about a specific topic, and we have an end goal. What do we want to accomplish with this video?
Okay.
But when I'm making videos for myself, like the Andrew W.K. documentary, for example, that always starts from an emotional point of view.
Sure.
I mean, just like I said with Aleister Crowley, for example, it's always a selfish reason. I want to explore the topic because I'm personally interested in the topic. So as far as the process goes, I just deep down in the topic because I'm interested in that, and go through interviews and things like that, and then try to organize all that material into a cohesive storyline, and then refine it from there, edit on a Adobe Premiere timeline, edit all the pieces to tell a cohesive storyline.
Okay. Where did like your ventures in directing in general? Where did that all start? What kind of started that for you?
Well, I was a graphic designer
Okay.
Still is.
Yeah.
I still make graphic design things for this company, video and graphic design. But originally, I was a graphic designer. I studied graphic design in school,
Okay.
mostly out of laziness. I didn't want to study anything more complicated than that.
Okay.
And because I'm pretty creative, I think, and that comes to me natural. So it seemed like a fun, easy thing to dedicate a big chunk of my life. And my first job was as a graphic designer. But then from there, I also started to explore photography.
Okay.
Back in Rome, I used to, at some point in my life, I used to go to clubs on the weekends and to bring my camera and take photos. And then originally it was just for fun, just for me. But then very quick, then became a side gig. I started making money with that. I had my own website, and I was invited to shoot DJs and events, things like that. And from there, that evolved into video making. Then from pictures, I was interested in, moving pictures and videos in general. And so I started to explore that, and one things lead to another, and that's my job now. I make videos and graphic design. I was able to reconciliate the two, graphic design and video making.
Okay. Now when you go and you're doing some of your vacation promos, I guess, I don't know. Is there a better way to identify those?
No, I think that's yeah.
Okay. So you have you kind of you glorify certain spots, and you kind of sell people basically on different spots. What are certain things that that make the final cut as far as what you want to include in these?
I really go by emotions. If it feels good, that's good enough for me.
Okay.
Yeah, my approach is very emotional. I need to feel excited by the combination between what I'm looking, the image, and the soundtrack. If it feels good, if it evokes something, then I think it's good, and then it makes the cut. If it doesn't feel good, even if it looks great, but doesn't excite me when I'm looking at it, then I will replace it with something else until I find something that excites me. I think art in general, or videos, pictures, anything. I think the end goal should be to move you, to excite you somehow. I mean, that's why they're called movies.
Right.
They need to be moving in some way. So I really go by the emotions. If it feels good, then it makes the cut.
Sure. Okay.
And sometimes, sometimes I will even decide between something that looks good but doesn't excite me, and something that doesn't look as polished or as good but evokes something inside me. When that's the choice, always go with something that feels better, even if it doesn't look as polished.
Okay, got you. Do you have certain I'm enamored by the process. I like seeing this, and I like having these conversations just because it's not something that I've ever been involved with, but it's so cool to me. Do you have certain utensils or kind of must-have tools while you're shooting? May it be just something like you have to have a pad and paper, or you have to have an iPad for jotting down ideas. Do you have certain things that you have to have when you're working on projects?
Again, depends on the project.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I always have my iPhone on me, and I'm always taking notes on my iPhone.
Okay.
I've created basically a WhatsApp chat with myself, and I'm always texting myself ideas and links to this WhatsApp chat that is only with my own number. So it's like I keep there all these things. So I'm always, I don't know, if I see a cool video, I send it to myself through this WhatsApp chat. If I have an idea, I write it down there. So that's maybe the only tool. I mean, I gather all my ideas there. As far as equipment, I don't care too much about the equipment. I think, we're blessed to live in a day and age where we all have iPhones that shoot 4K videos,
Right.
And sometimes that's good enough. If that's all you have, that's good enough. In some of my videos, Sometimes there are clips that I've shot with an iPhone.
Oh, really?
Because that's the only thing I had right there where I was, and I saw something that was very cool, and I needed to shoot it, and then I went back and I put it in a video. Well, the rest of the video was shot, I don't know, with a Canon C300. That's this huge equipment, and in the end, usually you can't really tell the difference when you're looking at the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, tools. Yeah, I take notes on my phone. I edit things on Adobe Premiere.
Okay.
But I think all softwares are pretty much equal. I mean, Adobe Premiere is just the one that I started with, and is one I'm more familiar with. But I don't know. I think it's as good as iMovie or Final Cut or DaVinci could be. They all do different things, but Adobe Premiere is what I use. And as far as equipment, I think what you have works. As long as you tell a good story, it's fine.
Have some passion behind it, and the rest will push its way through, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same with any form of art in general, I think. Whether it is music or whatever. Start with what you have, and you get good with that, and then you're ready to add more tools and things.
Sure. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. I'm sorry.
No. That's good. That's good. I like that. It's just, it's one of those things that I've asked a couple of people just because, it's interesting to hear your process. That's more of what it's about. It's just kind of like the ins and outs of, kind of like a day to day and a smaller, subjective thing that people might not necessarily look at. But, as somebody who's interested in the process, I just like to ask that and see, kind of what might be little things that you might bring on, or something that's just like, you get to a set or you get to a spot and you're like, oh, I have to have that. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, my process, generally speaking, if I'm making videos for work, I have two different processes. When I'm making videos for my day job, the process is very streamlined and very almost robotic in a way.
Oh, okay.
It's like you need to start from the end goal. We need to make a video about this topic. And then, again, you develop a storyboard.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want the video to look like? And then usually we also have a script. And then we find people to showcase in the video, to interview in the video. We make a shot list and we go and shoot it. Then we go back and go through the footage, put it on a timeline, following the storyboard that we made, color grade it, fix the sound, and then export it. When I'm making videos for myself, that's usually different because that starts, again, from something emotional, whether it is an idea or something like a feeling. Then that starts a whole different process. Like, for example, I can tell you about Andrew W.K, the most recent big thing that I've made that wasn't for my job.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very unstructured process. The process was just following my instinct, following what felt good.
Okay.
I basically started putting interviews, Andrew W.K's interviews, on an Adobe Premiere timeline, and then deleting the video component, just leaving the voice, and then using that voice as if it was a soundtrack, and then adding images on top of that. And then if it felt good, I've kept adding things on top of that, like music, other images, sound effects, whatever, to evolve the story. And when it didn't feel good, I went back and deleted things. So I just followed my instinct, followed what felt good, basically. So it's two different approaches because it's different projects. So depending on the projects, maybe the process will change. Maybe this is a better answer to the question.
Okay. All right. Cool. And you know that's kind of a topic too, as far as like, because I'm in a band and I have certain friends that I talk to that are in bands and play stuff, and they're like, yeah, you know, they kind of bring up something as far as like being nervous about releasing new music, or I don't know how people are going to feel like this, you know. And I always ask, and a lot of the guys in my band always mention too, like if you're a fan of your own stuff, more than likely you're doing it right.
Yeah,
And that's the
yeah,
same way, kind of what you're hitting on, you know, as far as like the emotion behind it. And if it's something that's, you know, making you feel, the audience is going to feel that too.
totally agree. Yes, yes.
So now after the fact of it actually being creative was when Andrew got involved, correct? Or at least had some sort. He endorsed it.
Yeah. So, well, the whole project, it was done by myself alone in my little room. I have a room in my home that is dedicated almost like a studio room where I work on these projects. And it
Okay.
was me on my own in the room working on that. And then I published it online. And Andrew himself and his team didn't even know of the existence of this
Right.
until I published it. I just
Okay.
made it on my own. But once it was online, to my surprise, very quickly, I think after 2 hours or something like that of the video being online, somebody from Andrew's team started to share the video, from Andrew's Twitter account, Andrew's Facebook page, Instagram, all these social media. And that started, and then that went on for a couple of weeks. And the video, even to this day, I mean, on Instagram, every once in a while, the video is still shared on Instagram stories. If you go on andrewwk.com right now, the homepage is my video still. It's the first thing you
Right.
see. It's my
Right.
video, it's there. And at some point, there was an exchange of emails with Andrew's manager. And we've been talking about this. And this is where I don't know how much I can say, how much I shouldn't say, out of respect for Andrew himself and his team.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, but some things are obvious, and I can say them, like, yeah, he fully endorsed the documentary, the project. A word that was used is that he was thrilled when he saw the thing. He was thrilled. He thought it was fantastic. He loved it. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens
Okay.
next. We'll see if that leads to some other cool projects. Who knows?
Sweet. Okay. You know, the one thing that I can say on my first watch of it is living in such a time, you know, I didn't really know what kind of an angle it was going to be taking on with it. You know, after realizing that Andrew was involved, I didn't think it was going to be anything negative, but living in such a, you know, what they call cancel culture. You ever hear people say that?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Okay. So living in such a negative, kind of pessimistic time, and a time of cancel culture, what was your push to make sure that this was, you know, something to push the good out of the guy, and the positivity of everything that he was doing, as opposed to trying to make it a negative light?
That's a good question, because Andrew himself, Andrew WK, there are many layers to his character. And I could have made the whole thing to depict him in a totally different light, probably. I mean, the Steve Mike conspiracy, that's one rabbit hole that can lead to all sorts of negativity.
Right.
But also some of the symbolism. I mean, on the surface, he's a very positive guy, and his message is very positive on the surface. And I think it really is. But it's also true that there is some symbolism in his music, in his image, that is recurring a very specific symbolism that if you're familiar with, I mean, going back to Aleister Crowley, funny enough, I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't plan it, but if you're familiar with Aleister Crowley, he uses some of the same symbolism. So there is a darker side also to Andrew W.K.
Sure.
Why did I choose to just focus on the positive? Mostly because that's what he does when he is making his music and when he's doing interviews, he focuses on that. And so out of respect for the subject, I decided to focus on the same things he chooses to focus on. I can see some of the symbolism and I think I can decipher some of that, but because he doesn't openly talk about it, I didn't feel like it was my place to do it. I didn't feel like it was me who should shine a light on that if he doesn't want to. And in general, I think I am a positive guy. I try to be a positive guy. So I wouldn't even feel comfortable to put something out there that brings negativity to somebody that's watching it. I'm happy to make videos, again, that promote positive emotions and promote excitement. I don't want to have people feel awful after watching something like that. That's not my goal.
right. Okay. You know, and I think it was just kind of that was a point I wanted to touch on just because there is so much of that, and even in doing these interviews, I could have times where I ask different people about like, the downer times or the negative times or something. And it's just, especially in this time of life in general, there's so much of that, and it was one thing I appreciated through and through about the project watching was that it just shown him in such a positive, like fun light. And there might be a little bit something there and whatever, if you want to look into that, that's your own thing, but this is going to show him partying hard.
Yeah. That's it. You said it perfectly. That was the approach I had when making this. Yes.
So what were, I guess, contradicting to that statement, what were some of the choices in the pieces of music? Some of the score in it was very, kind of ominous, dark, almost, horror feeling. Like what was the process with getting some of that?
Yeah. Well, there are many reasons for that. The first, more obvious reason is that, just like you, I'm a horror fan. Mm-hmm. I watch horror movies. And so as I was making this, as I was mid-process making this, at some point I made the conscious decision to make a documentary that was positive and all of that, and that was focused on a musician that I admire, but at the same time, that could be for me an outlet to kind of play with horror elements, because it's something that I don't usually do. And this felt like a good opportunity to do. And this is the other reason, because, again, Andrew W.K. also has a darker side.
Okay.
Not so many people see, some do, some don't care about it. But it's true that he has a darker side, like we all do. Like human beings, we all have a darker side. And so, again, it just made sense to, just like you said, and you said it perfectly, I think. And in fact, I have to say, you are the first person who commented on that, that I wanted at some point the thing to almost feel like a horror movie, not to scare you necessarily, but to, for me to play with that, and also to hint at some of the darker elements of Andrew W.K.
Sure.
Yeah, and also because I like horror in general. So I said, why not? Let's play with this. So that's mostly it. And the horror elements, but again, I could have gone even deeper with that, if I wanted to. If you want to explore the symbolism and some of those things, even some of the things that he says in some interviews. There are some interviews where he says some interesting things that can lead you to research different topics. But then I wasn't interested in going all in that direction. I wanted to find a balance between the two and to have the scale favor in the positive elements.
Sure. Okay. With this project, this was your most recent project, right? You didn't make anything, at least release anything past this?
I didn't release anything past that, but I have some things that are almost, some things I'm working on and some things are almost done. And I'll release it. But yeah, this is my recent project, yes.
Okay. What could you say from this project, wrapping up, finishing, what could you say is something that you learned from this that you can use in future endeavors?
Well, man, there are many things that I've learned from this. I'll give you an answer that I hope might be useful for anyone who's a creative out there that is watching or that will watch this at some point. So from as a creative person, I will say that there are some marketing elements that I picked up while working on this project that I can share that maybe might be beneficial for somebody. For example, something that I've learned now, I've made this project because I'm a fan of Andrew W.K.
Right.
I'm also a fan of a lot of other people, artists, musicians, writers, whatever, that maybe they don't have as much as a dedicated, strong fan base as Andrew W.K. has.
Okay.
I'm part of the fan base, and that's why I created this. But once it was finalized, I realized that if it wasn't for his fan base, which is mostly made of people that are almost addicted to him,
Mm-hmm.
the video wouldn't have got maybe the same views, the same interest. I'll give you an example. There is another person. I mean, I made this about Andrew WK because it felt right.
Okay.
But at some point, I was tempted to do the same thing, but instead of Andrew WK, to make it for a writer. I don't know if you know the guy. His name is Chuck Palahniuk. He's the guy. Yeah. Well, you know the guy.
Uh-huh.
He's mostly famous for Fight Club. That's what he's famous for. And I was tempted to make the same thing, but instead of Andrew WK, for Chuck Palahniuk. Now, Chuck Palahniuk's fan base, I don't think would have participated as much. I don't think they would have shared the video as much. I don't think they would have left all the positive comments that I received underneath my video. Because again, Andrew WK's fan base is very specific, but this is something that I only understood afterwards, after the video was published and the video was quote unquote successful, if we can say that it was successful in a way. Mm-hmm. Again, 80% of that, it's only because of the fan base, because they are positive people that are invested in Andrew WK. So the first lesson that I got out of this, and that I hope can be beneficial to anyone out there who wants to do or to make anything similar, is first, it needs to be something that you're passionate about, mm-hmm. but also you should approach it looking at it from a marketing point of view, asking yourself, is there a fan base? Is there a group of people that will actually watch this and will participate in this? Okay. Because if there is not, still do it, but you're basically doing it for yourself. Mm-hmm. If people are not going to share it and comment on it, you're doing it for yourself, which is still as noble, but then don't be disappointed if nobody's interested.
Right.
So I don't know if I worded this correctly, but from a marketing point of view, I think if you're a creative person, you should approach projects also asking yourself, will people be as interested as I am? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is no, still do it, but don't expect the same results,
Right.
basically.
Right. Okay. And there's there's a little bit too, as far as if you think of when they talk about like big production companies and somebody going in and pitching an idea and they're like, nobody's going to watch this. It's not an interest. And it's not to say that that's not something still to push and make, but it is definitely something as a filmmaker and as somebody that's investing time and effort into. You have to have those things in mind. I mean, it's part of the business. So people can't disrespect that view towards it. No.
Yeah, I mean, either that or you have to have a lot of money to
Or
spend
that.
on
Or that.
marketing
Yeah.
to force people to watch it, which is what big studios do. Big studios, they basically spoon feed you their movies, whether you want
Right.
to watch them or not. You're so bombarded by BuzzFeed and whatever telling you this movie is great
Yeah.
that at some point,
Right.
subconsciously, you're going to watch it.
Yeah. I just have to see what this is all about.
Yes.
I don't even care to watch it, but I guess I have to. Everybody else is talking about it.
Yeah, but for somebody like me or whoever is watching who's an upcoming guy starting humbly and doesn't have that budget, then you need to find a group of people that are as interested as you are. So at least that somebody will watch it and somebody hopefully will share it with their friends.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I was on YouTube and just pulled up my homepage, and the movie was the documentary was right there on the main page. And I'm like, I've never even heard of this. What is this? And it's brand new about Andrew W.K. I'm like, of course. Why would I not watch this? And absolutely loved it. Like, just that was something too that was interesting too. Was the kind of guerrilla tactics as far as it just popped up, and I thought it was going to be a trailer, and it says it's a full length, and the whole thing's on YouTube. I'm like, all right, okay, let's see what's up with this. That's
yeah. I mean, at some point the algorithm, I think, also picked it up a little bit, because once Andrew WK's team shared the thing, the views ramped up very quickly, and so at that point the algorithm maybe puts it on some home pages of people that it thinks might be interested in watching it. So
yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad it showed me. Shoot.
I'm glad too.
So now, as far as your endeavors with filming and all as well, you're also a horror fan, which I was excited to hear and excited to talk about. We kind of touched base on earlier. What was the first movie that you would say that you ever saw that was a horror movie?
Oof, who knows? The first movie.
Maybe earlier, if that's a little bit, if that helps.
I remember the first thing that I was scared of. That was a movie. It wasn't even a horror movie, but I remember very vividly when I was 4 or 5 years old. There was this trailer on TV. What's called in English? The Schwarzenegger movie, Total Recall.
Oh, yeah.
So there was that. I still remember it. The trailer. There was at least the Italian trailer. It showed you. I don't know if you watched the movie, but there is a part in the movie where there is this bald, fat woman, and her face opens up like a robot to reveal. I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger himself underneath it, or somebody else. And just that clip in the trailer when I was a kid freaked me out. I was terrified. So that's not a horror movie, but that's the first thing I can remember that scared me when I was a child. As far as movies go, I have to say, when I was growing up watching movies, I've never encountered a movie that scared me. Okay. Even when I was a child, I was scared of that. But very quickly, growing up, I wasn't fazed anymore by movies or trailers or whatever. I had an uncle growing up that owned a video store.
Oh, really?
When I was awesome. a very young child. I always lived in Rome my whole life, but this uncle, he lived in the south of Italy. So when I was a child, I was going with my family for holidays in the south of Italy to go to the beach. And this uncle, he was there with his video store. And so during summer, I would spend days inside this video store. And 90% of the time, I was like, again, I don't know, 6, 7 years old. 90% of the time, I will just pick all these VHS empty folders, from the shelves, just horror movies, 80s, 90s horror movies, and I will stare at the covers, read the plots. They wouldn't allow me to watch them, and so I will just read the plots over and over again and stare at the covers, to basically my eyes devouring every detail from the. Also because the 80s artwork, they were great. They were these beautiful paintings like Nightmare on whatever it's called in English.
Elm Street,
Yes, the posters, they were beautiful artworks. And so I was very fascinated. And growing up, as soon as I was able to watch things on my own, I went back and watched all of those movies. But but again, to this day, I never encountered a movie that scared me.
Okay. Did you have any that you can remember, that you read over and over and then finally watched it and it wasn't good?
Yeah. The Exorcist.
No, really?
Not that it wasn't good.
Okay.
From a movie standpoint, I think it's a great movie.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of. Why don't I have the name now? I know the guy very well. I've listened to hours of interviews from him, the director.
William Friedkin?
Yes. Sorry, I don't know why for a second I couldn't think of his name. I'm a huge fan of the guy, regardless of The Exorcist. In general, I like the way he thinks, the way he talks. I'm fascinated by him.
Sure.
And so The Exorcist, from a movie point of view, was a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big part of his success, again, was marketing. I think at the time, they had a great genius marketing. With ambulances parked outside of movie theaters.
Yeah.
And people that supposedly fainted.
Yeah.
Maybe it's real, maybe it's not, maybe it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the marketing was great, but I think there is a reason why no other movie after that was able to accomplish the same, the same resonance or whatever. It's because now we are more cynical, and at the time I think people were more innocent, more easily to impress, and marketing played a huge role. When I watched the movie, I was 15 years old, or 14, or around that age. I don't know if I was younger, but it was when the movie came out again, at least in Europe. I don't know if it was the same in the States. At some point, the movie came out again in movie theaters with a better audio, and all the scenes that were cut, they now were restored. And so the movie came out again. It was longer. It wasn't cut. The Dolby surround audio was great. And so I went. Again, my mother, she didn't want me to go and see it. My family is a very religious family, and horror was forbidden in our household. But I had a friend whose mother worked in a movie theater. And so one evening after school, I told my mom, I think I told her I was going watching something stupid like The Iron Giant or something like that. I think it was that at the time, that was out at the same time. And instead, I went with this friend of mine and with his mom to this movie theater. And another friend of ours too. It was just the three of us in an empty movie theater watching this movie by ourselves with The Exorcist. And when it was done, we looked at each other and we were a little disappointed.
Oh, man.
Because we were expecting to faint. We were expecting to throw up. We were expecting to be totally scared. And some things made us feel bad, but didn't scare us.
Sure. Okay.
There are some scenes in the movie that are blasphemous, and they are designed to shock you. But it's like, I don't know, it's like watching a Marilyn Manson performance. It shocks you, but it doesn't scare you. It's a different thing. It's not scary. It's shocking. And I agree. I think it can be a shocking movie. But at least to me, it didn't scare me.
Okay. You know, as far as all the notorious things in that movie, the one thing that always stuck with me was the faint images of that Captain Howdy face. Those were always like the one thing, you know, because people kind of talk about like the stair scene and, you know, just puking all over and stabbing herself, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but the Captain Howdy face, like that was always the one thing that kind of got the hair standing on my arms where I was like, oh, I don't like that, you know, because it was just so faint and like you had to go back and kind of see if it was actually what you were seeing, you know. And so, that's definitely, I can agree with you too, as far as, you know, it's got its scarier elements. I saw it probably a little too young. So it's got the nostalgia with that.
Of course.
But yeah. So now, I guess what I asked you, I don't know, maybe a week ago or so, what some of your favorite movies were, and I just wanted to break down a second here because I had a couple of them, and I wanted to ask, you know, your first impression. So one of the first ones you mentioned was the old Hereditary.
Yes.
Now tell me, when did you see it in theater? What was your first impression of that when you saw it?
So, well, I wish that I had the chance to watch it in the movie theater. I watched it at home. So, again, that's another movie. Well, it's actually pretty appropriate that we just talk about The Exorcist, because Hereditary, I think, not many people agree. I know this is maybe controversial, at least in my circle of friends, but I think that Hereditary is actually up there with The Exorcist in terms of making a horror movie that also works as a movie by itself. A lot of horror movies, they are popular and they are, I don't know, popular just because they are horror movies. And horror has this appeal that people will watch it because it's like watching a car crash. You have to watch it at some point.
Right.
But some movies like The Exorcist or Hereditary, they are not lazy movies. They are not, how do you say in English, cash grab movies or something like that? Yeah, they are movies that were very well designed, very well studied, and very well made so that they can work perfectly as dramas, for example, which is a more perhaps noble genre that critics appreciate more than horror.
Right.
But I mean, Hereditary, if you remove the paranormal elements and recut the movie without the paranormal scenes, it can still work as a drama movie.
Right.
And same with The Exorcist, because both movies, they are stories where the characters, they don't make stupid, dumb choices. Like, have you ever seen the Scary Movie, the first Scary Movie from the Wayans brothers?
Yeah.
So there is a scene at the very beginning when Carmen Electra is running away from, what's it called? The killer with the scream mask. She's running away from him at the very beginning of the movie. And twice, so the first time, she makes two choices. The first choice is she's running in the house and there is a table that she stumbles across. And on the table, you have a gun, a knife, I think, a bomb, and a banana. She stops in front of the table, she looks at the table, and she grabs the banana, and she keeps running. So that's obviously the first thing that the Wayans brothers put in the movie to say, to make us laugh about how stupid people are in horror movies. And shortly after that, she leaves the house, she's running outside of the house, and there are two street signs. One sign says safety. One sign says death, with two different arrows. And obviously, she runs where it says death. So, and most horror movies, the characters, they really are this stupid.
Right.
They hide in closets and they yell, "Josh, is that you?" when they hear a noise. And obviously it's not Josh, it's a killer that stabs them. Or they hear a noise in the house and they go in the basement with a stupid torch, the flashlight that obviously doesn't work. And you shouldn't go there. You obviously should leave the house. That's the first thing you should do. And so they always make the dumb choice. But Hereditary and Exorcist, the characters, they don't make dumb choices. They make the same choices that I would make, I would argue, in that situation. So that's why they are intelligent movies that work as drama or whatever it is. And so Hereditary, yeah, it's a great movie. Beautiful movie, aesthetically. The cinematography is beautiful. It's great. The characters, they have this depth. Again, they're not dumb, stupid people. They have depth. You can argue that the movie paints the characters in a way that give you hints to maybe some mental illnesses or some depthness to the characters. That is not just people that are there to be killed for your pleasure.
Right. Right.
And then also there is a lot of symbolism. I'm a big fan of symbolism. The movie has a lot of symbolisms. I think Ari Aster, the director, I think is a very knowledgeable guy in the occult. And there is some symbolism in the movie that is fascinating for a guy like me who watches movies, but I'm more interested in the soul of the movie, the symbolism, not the movie as an entertainment getaway or whatever, but I'm interested in the soul, not the body of the movie. I want the soul. I want to deep down in the meaning, the hidden meaning sometimes, the symbolic meaning. And Hereditary has a lot of that.
Okay. So kind of going back a little bit, you were mentioning like the advertising of a movie. And this was one of those movies that you see on all of those lists, like the top 10 best horror movies ever and the best of 2010s and the horror movie that you can't miss. And that right there was one of the reasons why it took me so long to watch this movie. For the longest, I was just like, I want to like this. It looks cool, but I'm going to hate it. And it wasn't until I got it as a gift, actually, and I watched it the day after Christmas. And I watched it it was basically spanned over like 3 different days that I ended up just with, with family stuff and all that. And I finally got done with it. I was kind of surprised because it almost felt like somebody's personal passion project. It was so amazing. I had to go back and just watch. I probably in a week watched it 4 or 5 times. Wow. Just trying to take in all of the stuff that's going on, because it's very much, an emotional assault. It's very much visually just, very visceral. And you mentioned the advertisement of things sometimes. This was one that certainly took me off guard. I did not think I was going to like it as much as I did. And it's one of my favorites. Actually, I've got that bad boy right there.
Wow. Yeah.
So I love this movie. Yeah. So the second one that you had mentioned I wanted to talk about was Drag Me to Hell.
Yes.
So what's your story behind this one? What was your earlier memories of it?
Well, I mean, this is probably if we were to make a diagram and we put Hereditary and The Exorcist on one end of a line, probably Drag Me to Hell would be on the opposite.
Yeah, right.
Drag Me to Hell is just a fun movie. It's one of those movies that it's just fun to watch, I think. Mm-hmm. When I watched it the first time, I watched it not in a movie theater. I watched it because it was in a period of my life where I was downloading and torrenting a lot of movies. Mm-hmm. And Drag Me to Hell was just a title on a website. I had no clue what it was, so I downloaded that as well. Wow. And I watched it without knowing what it was. And it was so fun that, like, as soon as it came out in the theaters in Italy, I convinced a few friends of mine to go and watch it together because I wanted them to watch it. Okay. And so I watched it again in the movie theater. And then, a little after that, again, this was years ago, I had a girlfriend at the time that wasn't into horror movies, but I wanted her to watch this, and so I watched it again. And then I think later on, I showed it again to some other friends. So it's a movie that I showed to a lot of people just because it's a fun movie. It's a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's not very scary, I would argue. It's not scary. It's shocking. Some things are shocking, but it's not shocking in a mean way.
Right.
It's probably more than shocking, it's surprising. Some things are surprising. They shock you, but with the kind of shock that it's a friendly way of scaring you. Like, it's also winking at you. It's like, you like that? I got you, you know? That kind of shock.
Little satire, a little bit.
Yeah. It's like Ari Aster or Friedkin, if they want to shock you, they're not laughing with you. They shock you, but they're probably laughing at you.
At you,
like,
yeah.
Probably at the end, they're telling you, it wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
This movie, Drag Me to Hell, it shocks you, but then it holds your hand at the end. It's like, it was all for fun. Don't worry about it. And so it's just a fun movie. It's fun. That's why I like it, because it's fun. It's pure fun. The ending, all the times that I watch it, the very end, I think we can spoil it because it's an old movie by now. But the very end, when the boyfriend gives her the button, and she grabs the button, and then she's dragged literally into hell. The ending is exhilarating. I always laugh like an idiot because it's just all she went through. She was finally done with it. She was liberated. And her boyfriend, stupid boyfriend, for an act of pure love, something so small, she basically doomed her to spend her eternity in hell. It's exhilarating. It's incredibly fun. Like, it's another movie it's as fun is, what's it called? Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, yes.
It gave me, they both, I think they're both the same thing. They made me laugh the same way. I think they both try to make you laugh in that way. So, Drag Me to Hell and Cabin in the Woods, they're both great example of a director that likes horror movies, but is not mean to you. He doesn't want to have you have nightmares. He's laughing with you. And it's like, let's enjoy this together. It's all for fun, you know?
Right. I with Drag Me to Hell, I loved because I grew up watching Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness is one of my favorites ever. And so that was kind of his comeback to horror, and I love that movie so much. I was hoping that it was going to be, kind of a trend where he was going to start doing stuff, and he never, continued on. He did some other stuff, but he did, I think, maybe the first 2 episodes of that Ash vs. Evil Dead when that show came out. But that's cool, and I guess I can appreciate. But man, Sam Raimi, he is definitely the director there. He's one of my favorites.
Oh, me too. I think he came out with Drag Me to Hell probably to kind of reestablish his name after Spider-Man and things like that. And once that was accomplished, he was fine with that, and that's it.
Yeah, true. So now the third one I don't actually have a physical copy of, but it was the Babadook that you'd mentioned. Tell me about the first time that you saw that, and kind of what drew you. What was your interest in it?
The Babadook, I think it's a movie that doesn't fit either with Hereditary and The Exorcist, and neither with Drag Me to Hell and Cabin in the Woods. I think The Babadook is a movie that, at least from the people I interact with and my friends, I'm probably the only person I know that liked it.
Okay.
I mean, online, it seemed that a lot of people liked it, but in real life, I have yet to meet somebody that, when I say that I liked it, they're like, "Oh yeah, me too." People are always surprised when I say that I liked it, but I liked it.
Okay.
I don't know. Did you like it?
I did not.
Yeah, you see?
I didn't want to say anything because I wanted to hear what your interest was in it. I wanted to hear what it was that you found compelling, and what it was that you liked in it.
So and it's totally fine. I mean, you don't have to like it, and it's totally fine. We can still be
Right.
friends, just
Right.
like I'm friends with all my friends, and they don't like it.
Right. Right.
But the thing is, why did I like it? It's very simple.
And I didn't want to mention, my feelings out just because I wanted to hear kind of what your early impression was and what it was that brought your interest to the movie.
Well, the Babadook. I think why I like it is, again, because I'm always interested in the soul of the movie, not in its body, not in the surface storyline. The storyline of the Babadook on a surface level is just the story of a mom, a single mom, that lives in this house with this young child. And the child, I don't remember if he finds a book. I don't remember if the book is in the house already, but somehow he comes across a book, the book of a Babadook, which is a scary book for kids.
Yeah.
And they cannot get rid of this book. The mom burns it, throws it away, and the book always comes back into the house. And the Babadook is this evil presence that comes out at night and scares the child and scares the mom. And in the end, the mom screams at the monster, and the movie ends with them living, coexisting with the monster in the same house. And the mom, if I remember correctly, she also brings food to the monster and is living, how do you call it in English? In the, not in the room.
Like the attic?
The attic, yes, sorry.
Okay.
So that's the surface storyline, which is not, I mean, it's interesting, whatever, but I would argue that it's all a metaphor. I would argue that the Babadook, the monster, doesn't even exist in the movie.
Right. Right.
The movie itself, I mean, the director of the movie, I think, I don't remember the name, but it should be a woman. And I think she was interested in telling this. I may be wrong, but from what I remember, I didn't research this, but back in the day, from what I remember, the director, I think, was a woman. But regardless, the director, I think, was interested in telling the story of a single mom who's resentful of her son. And she, for a number of reasons, she despises, she almost hates her son. She thinks her son is annoying. Her son is an obstacle, probably, for her happiness, because she has mental issues. And the Babadook is just the metaphorical embodiment of her mental issues, of her hate towards her son, over, like, the book probably represents her, the duties that she has as a mother to educate the son, to nurture the son, to entertain her son, to feed her son with stories, and again, to help her son grow. And if the book is represents that, we can see that something is wrong in that household, because the book is scary and she tries to get rid of the book, but it keeps coming back, almost like she's trying to escape her responsibilities as a mom. But responsibilities keep coming back. She needs to take care of her child, regardless of how much she hates her own son. And it gets to the point that she screams, she almost throws up oral
loses her mind.
She loses her mind, yes. But the cathartic moment is therapeutic, because she reaches a point where she's like, okay, I cannot get rid of all this negativity, so I need a different approach. I need to learn to live and to coexist with depression. I need to learn to live with negativity. I need to learn to live, going back to the dark side we were talking about at the beginning, I need to coexist with my own dark side. And that's when she lives in this house, which probably, again, is a metaphor of her life. The house maybe represents her life. And she needs to coexist with all this negativity in the attic. It's not in the living room, it's not hunting her all the time, 24/7, but it's somewhere there in the house. It's an aspect of her life that she needs to coexist with. Now, I might be delusional, and maybe the director didn't mean any of this, but this is how I choose to see the movie. And this is
Yeah.
why I enjoy the movie.
Okay.
Not for the body, not for the story itself of a monster haunting a single mom and a child, but for the soul of the movie. A story of somebody that needs to coexist with his own dark side and to take care of a child, not just
Sure.
herself, also a child, while keeping this monster at bay, all this negativity, to make sure that all this negativity doesn't affect the life of her child.
Huh. Okay, I mean, see, and there's a couple of points I want to hit on because
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing, and that's the interest that I like, talking with people just as far as what their views are on things. Because I guess first of all, I was thinking from my recollection, I only watched it once, and where I can come from is the hype. One of the first things I saw was that poster for it, where it was that big line of trees, and then you see the monster like in the background, kind of tucked in. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sounds familiar. I'm visualizing something like that as you're describing
Yeah.
it, so maybe
Yeah.
I saw it maybe.
So that was one of the first things I saw, and I'm like, oh man, this looks really, really cool, and so I was getting really hyped for it being some type of monster, some type of entity thing that they're trying to battle or defeat, and maybe not necessarily even silly like a Drag Me to Hell, but just something that's that was that monster type of a movie. And then watching it, from what I could remember, it was all a metaphor. It was all made up. It wasn't a real thing. And that is what killed it for me. That was where I was just like, really? Like, come on. Like at first I kind of felt like it was a cop out. Like they couldn't figure out how to end it. So they're just like, oh, it wasn't real. It was just da 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 da. But hearing what you're saying about that completely intrigues me into go back and watching it again, because you talking about it makes me think of the monster being the metaphor for her angry toward her child, and then eventually having to try to possibly put it at bay and coexist, like you said, with it, and saying, okay, this isn't working, I'm going to have to defeat this, and we're going to have to figure out something else because this current state is not working. That's a very interesting point. I don't know if that was necessarily what you were saying, but I
No,
mean,
yeah, that was what I was saying. I don't know if necessarily what the director had intended, but that's the way I interpreted it.
right, okay,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, that's a really interesting take on that, and I mean, I'll do it a solid, and I'm going to watch it again, and I'll let you know what came out of
okay.
it. So, all right. So my next question, I've got two more for you. I'm not going to
Yeah.
hold you too long, but my next question: if you could make a documentary on any horror character, I'll say even a villain, any
Mm,
horror villain,
mm.
what would you do a documentary on? What would you do some behind the scenes on?
You mean
Like
like
maybe the actor that portrayed them in the movie, kind of like going into the director, why they chose what he looks like, just thinking of a favorite horror villain of yours and doing a little bit digging on that character.
man, you ask way too intelligent questions that I'm going to give you dumb answers for, and then I'm going to regret the whole thing. And I'm not going to be able to share this interview with my friends because I don't want to look stupid afterwards.
No,
So,
that's all good. I apologize.
no. So let me give you some dumb answer. Um, let's see. Well, first of all, it needs to be something that, again, I have some kind of interest in. I'm trying to think if I've seen any movie recently, any horror movie recently, that left me intrigued enough. Um, Man, I don't know. Probably. Well, I don't know if it's probably not the answer you're looking for, but if I would have the chance, I would actually, yeah, I would actually make it about Jason Jason Bloom or Bloomhouse. What's his last name? Is it just Bloom? Is it
Yeah, yeah,
Bloomhouse?
yeah. Bloomhouse. Well, that's the
Bloomhouse?
company is
Yeah.
Bloomhouse.
So his name is
Yeah,
Jason Bloom, I think.
I think
But
so.
anyway,
Yeah.
the guy behind Bloomhouse
Okay.
is not. I know it's not the answer you're looking for, but it's an honest answer. The first answer I can
Sure.
think of that feels honest,
Uh-huh.
because it's. I think the guy is some kind of a genius in a way,
Mm-hmm.
roughly speaking. From what I know, from what I remember, he used to work at a production company
Oh, okay.
back in the day, and then at some point he saved up enough money to open up his own production company,
Uh-huh.
Blumhouse, which is, I think, giving us some of the best horror movies that we ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And the business model, I think, is genius. It's very cost effective. I mean, horror as a genre, it's always
Right.
been very cost effective, but it
Mm-hmm.
took it to the next level. It's
Mm-hmm.
forcing all these directors to work inside a box, a money box. They don't have more money than that, so they're
Right.
forced, and this forces creativity. Like, I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm not a fan of superhero movies or
Right.
Marvel movies, and mostly it's because they have too much money.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Europe, I don't know if you've heard of this, but in Europe we have a song contest. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Eurovision. I
Yeah.
don't know if you, yeah.
Yeah.
So Eurovision song contest is, if you're familiar with it, all countries once a year from Europe, they participate in this, and
Mm-hmm.
it's fun because it's trash TV. We enjoy it because it's just fun. I mean, it's a competition. We are
Right.
all laughing at each other, and it's fun.
Right.
But some of these singers, when they're on stage, they have fireworks and crazy dancers, and you can say they spent a huge budget for this,
Mm-hmm.
which is the same thing, I will argue, that Marvel does. They spend these huge budgets on movies to give you fireworks, to the point that, at least to me, it's almost trashy. It's almost
Yeah.
over the top. It's a bit too much. And Jason Blum, he goes the opposite direction. No
Yeah.
budget, so either your story works or it doesn't. And if
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't, there are no fireworks that will save it.
Right.
Yeah. And
Right.
so, like the Eurovision Song Contest, if the song is crap, doesn't matter how many fireworks you can put on stage, the song will still be crap at the end of the exhibition, at the end of the song.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, and so Jason Blum, I think he's a genius from that point of view. I think he's an interesting guy. And none other than for selfish reason, I will make a documentary about him so that I can absorb some of his way of thinking and then
Mm-hmm.
try to apply it to my own life.
I love that answer. Honestly, that is one guy that has certainly intrigued me as far as you don't really hear a whole lot about him. And I guess it's just not anything that comes up. But as far as his production company and the label is on everything, just like you said, anything that's coming out that's a great project, and something that's original and fun. I feel like Blumhouse, A24, and
Yes.
RLJE are all the companies right now that are just pressing out amazing stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
So I love that. I love that answer, Flavio. Honestly, I'm glad that you didn't think too hard on it because that was beautiful, and I
Thanks.
appreciated the honesty to it, my man. So
Thank you.
this is gonna wrap up our interview, man. I thank you so much for your time, and this is your opportunity. If you want to pitch anything that you got going on, if you want to just give some shouts, this is your opportunity, man.
I'm just going to say this was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for having me on. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed
Absolutely.
this. I don't know. I'm not going to plug too much. I'm just going to say if anybody's interested in watching the videos I make, just Google my name. I have a website, comes up, Flavio De Feo. That's it. Come visit me.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I'll have all that information in the body of the video too when I put it up on YouTube, and have your website and some links to your videos as well. So,
Appreciate it.
this
Thank you.
this is all about my guests, and today having you on was absolutely an honor, and I truly appreciate it, man. And keep doing what you're doing.
You're very kind. It was an honor for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, take care. Flavio De Feo, Lo-Fi Horror Guy. You guys be safe. Bye, buddy.
Bye bye.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah.